Smooth mate.
Yo, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to another episode of Thinker versus Speaker, where I, Marissa the Thinker, sit down with different guests and we talk about all things life, anything, everything, spirituality. We talk about career development, mental health, literally any and everything. No, I'm not an expert on the things that I talk about. I'm just a person with opinions that likes to, you know, explore thought, open-minded. So, if you aren't the most open-minded, if you are easily triggered, if you know what I'm saying, it might not necessarily be the place for you, and that's okay. But if you're down for open-minded exploratory conversations, let's hop right into it. And yeah, if you like this content, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, all of those things help us grow. And all of that, I'll give y'all my social media at the end, all of our social media. But without further ado, I would like to introduce my special guest today. I'm really excited about this conversation. I have Nick. Now, I know when I see your name, I know what I see. But I know what I see, but I don't know if that's correct. So could you please tell us what your name is?
Right. So my name is Wisdom, but it's not spelled the way that it looks. So that throws a lot of people off. I get that one a lot, actually. The reason
I like
why,
it though, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the reason why I spelled it that way was because I wanted someone to use, or anyone that saw my name, to use their intuition in order to make the judgment that, yes, your wisdom is your wisdom and not necessarily from me. So that's sort of like the premise behind it. But otherwise, I'm probably just screwing with a lot of people that are dyslexic, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I looked and I'm just like, like when I look at it, like I see wisdom, but then when you look at the words, I was just like, is this a brain thing that's happening right?
Right, yeah. Like before you meet me, I'm already messing with your psyche. So
context clues, they're right there. All right, cool. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I came across you on my timeline on my TikTok.
Right.
I was scrolling through TikTok. I saw you doing tarot, but I'm sure it's way more to you than that. Apparently, we knew each other before then, so that's kind of cool too.
Right.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so right now I'm a student in school. I'm a senior, about to graduate with my Associates of Arts and my Associates in Radio, Television, and Film.
Congratulations.
Thank you. In addition, currently I'm focusing on my TikTok account, so that's a very stable career path. But I love to read tarot cards, I love to make videos, I love to make music, and I like to make digital art. So that's a little bit about me.
All right, cool. How long have you been doing tarot on TikTok and in general?
On TikTok, I only just started around the beginning of November, which I had someone actually encourage me to make an account because I was boycotting it for so long because I was afraid of getting lost in the algorithm. But how long I've read tarot for is about 4 years, and that was whenever my spiritual journey began.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. So did you well, it's a part of the spiritual journey. So I guess let's talk about your spiritual journey a little bit. Have you always been spiritual, or was it something that led you to it? You kind of like alluded to it a little bit, just right there.
Yeah, sure. So, we talked about this a little bit before, right? But
yeah,
I grew up as a Christian and kind of lost my way with sort of the symbolism of God and idolatry with Jesus. And I became agnostic, even atheist whenever I entered college, because it was in high school where I started to really question, how valid my understanding of God was. So After becoming very blasphemous to the religion, right? Like I started to actually worship Satan because I was so,
Really?
yes, I kid you not, because I was so anti-Christian that I thought every Christian was just bullshitting me whenever they came towards me with like that spiritual sort of, guru shit. And I was like, I don't believe in your love. I'm sorry. Up until the moment that someone sat on a bench next to me one day as I was questioning why the world was in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that the world is like a rat race. And that's when it clicked to me. I was like, yeah, it is. Because I was just sitting on a bench on a normal day and you just fucking read my soul. And that's when I realized I had a soul.
Yeah. 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 And go ahead.
Yeah, so after that, I had this sense of euphoria because I was so happy that life was bigger than what it was and that the universe was God and God was omnipotent and omniscient and I wanted to read the Bible and everything, and then all the shadow work and such and so forth.
Yeah.
Right, like the dark night of the soul, like battling with anxiety, having to cut off toxic connections, such and so forth, like ate away and crippled my mind and crippled my body because I realized that I was not where I wanted to be in my life whatsoever. So fast forward 4 years later, and here we are today because somehow tarot card readings entered my life after I found a YouTuber. Her name is Marianne Lamont, and I think she's a French YouTube tarot card reader that kind of helped me realize, that different aspect of, spirituality that I
Yeah.
was very blind to before. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. I've never actually spoke to somebody that said like they worship Satan. So so like I'm very curious because it's just like to go from that to where you are now. Like one, like what do you think had you so disenchanted? Was okay. One, what were you so disenchanted with? Was it with God? Was it with religion? Was it Christianity? Like what is it that you were so disenchanted with, and like why do you think it was?
To me, I put a lot of the blame on God, right? And that's because I was so pissed off that he wouldn't do anything about the world that we live in, like knowing how bad it was. Like around the time there was a lot of, conflict rising around social justice and social change during like the Black Lives Matter movement. And
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't understand, why a God would allow such pain to live in everyone else's lives. And so really I was like, you know what, maybe Lucifer can have, some sort of explanation for this. And so I didn't get so deep into to the point where like I started to study like black magic and shit like that because again I was like I didn't even believe in like the spirit or the soul. I thought it was more so just making a mockery out of Christianity. And so um, as I became or kind of like started to explore that path, it was like I felt like I was God. I felt like I had the control, the power to, I don't know, I guess make change, but in the wrong sense of God. Like
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was dealing with a like something between an inferiority and superiority complex,
Well, that's a
and
place to be.
right, exactly, with a dash of God complex. And so um, I really didn't know if my own world was real or not. Like I was lost in some sort of limbo, and I think looking back at it, like that's the major reason why I didn't really trust religion in the first place because I thought I was just falling into another trap of sort of occultism, or really it
Mm.
just felt like Midsummer. Have you seen that movie?
No, but I've heard about it.
Okay,
I
yeah,
kind of I kind of get the like plot ish. I want to watch it. I just never have taken the time to watch it.
it's a really good movie. I really suggest that you watch it.
I'm probably gonna look it up.
But yeah, I think my own human experience has shown me that God doesn't have to be so narrow, and that we do have free will. I'm starting to realize that,
Yeah.
I'm not just predestined to live a certain life. And I, like, when I started to realize that I yes, I do have control over my life. That doesn't mean I have control over everyone else's life. And I think that was something that I didn't grasp. And so after like running on a wheel for so long, I needed to take a break to just recharge my brain for years. And so,
Yeah.
um, you know, I'm honestly glad now that I understand God in so many different facets and ways, and that I can honestly say I'm closer with God. But um, what the future holds, I do not know. So even though I'm a tarot card reader,
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's the part that like the one thing that I love about myself is that I'm so open minded, because I
yeah,
grew up in like a highly Christian background too. My grandpa was a pastor, so I grew up in church for the most part.
right,
And like, of course, like when you hear about things like divination, things like that, like my grandpa would always be like, one, it was certain things that you just could not say. Like
right,
he would be like overly like over the top, like don't play with God, don't sit, don't watch what you say, all of those kinds of things.
right.
And like he wouldn't even let us play like regular old fashioned card games like in the house. Like we could not play
Really?
Go Fish. We could not, no, none
Oh
of
my
that.
goodness.
Yeah, like he was extreme with it. And like even like one of my cousins, right, like I have like a video on my TikTok where it was like a stray cat that would keep trying to go home with me, and one of my cousins would be like, cats are evil, and I would be like,
Uh,
they're okay.
they're
Like they're
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 evil.
okay. If you say so. But like,
Right.
but it's just like they come from that background where it's just like anything that's not just like straight laced, like if it doesn't look one type of way, then it must not be of God. Like
Right.
if it doesn't look like X, Y, or Z, then it must not be of God, and therefore it is
Right.
not okay. And therefore, like, you know what I'm saying, like it's a no-go. We don't even explore it, we don't talk about it, we don't look at it, we don't touch it, we don't any of that. And
Yeah.
what I'm learning from my own journey is that it's a journey. And like even when I look around at like other people and stuff and they tell me about their journey, like when I see a spiritual journey, spiritual awakening, what I see is a soul that's a
Hmm.
blank slate.
Right.
When it comes out into this world, at some point it can become lost.
Right.
And loss looks like a lot of different things. It doesn't look the
Hmm.
same. Like, you know what I'm saying? For some people, they might start doing drugs. For some people, they might become disenchanted with religion. And you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Right.
for some people, like, it looks different for everyone, you know?
Right.
But what ends up happening along the way is that loss somehow gets led back to itself, and it becomes found, and then you go on this
Mm.
journey of finding it all over again, and what's real and what's not and what's going to work on your life. You take all of that programming out.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right. And there was something that you mentioned too about um sort of like the way that your father, right, was very tight on what you were
Grandfather.
allowed to do. Your
Yes.
grandfather, sorry,
Yeah.
very extreme about the things you were allowed to do, and that honestly kind of alludes me to like I think there's some sort of passage within the Bible talking about how one shouldn't assume that they'll get stoned, but they'll get stoned. Like one shouldn't assume that a stone will turn into gold, right? But
Mm-hmm.
instead that you should feed yourself off of the bread of God. And like I think a lot of Christians sort of harped on the stone part where it's like, yeah, like don't that's not good. You don't need to take that. Versus the part about the bread of God, which doesn't just mean like the word of God, right? But it's also just about you know embracing the beauty of life. I feel, and so there's also a new deck that I've been working with my tarot cards, called the Wild Unknown Alchemist,
Hmm.
and it's about transforming lead into gold. When the gold doesn't have to be something of a material aspect, it's more so of that feeling that we get within ourselves of what we value, like another man's trash is another man's treasure sort of deal. So unfortunately, with the way that Christianity was taught, with that sort of like rigid rule of authoritarianism, I think a lot of people are starting to like finally shed that and step into more of a realm that we should be open with our hearts and love thy neighbor, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Jesus died for our sins, sort of deal. And that's actually helping us all sort of evolve to into this collective conscious, which only is only just now becoming like more and more prevalent today as
Mm-hmm.
more and more people have their spiritual awakening. And so, yeah, you're right about us all coming back, to God, or at least having this sort of revolution, because now we're walking in the steps of the lives that we used to have, but with a new perspective, and it makes everything seem brand new.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, I have a theory too, since you said that. Like with the state of the world, like I'm very much a believer in like everything happens for a reason.
Hmm.
And like when I look at the state of the world, like whew, like there's a lot going on. And
Hmm.
like depending on how you want to view it, like I can look and I can be like, okay, like the world is trash. Like there,
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying, like with all of the things going on. But the other thing that I see that's happening under the surface is that collective conscious waking up. And
Yeah.
it almost feels like, to me, like it's almost like things had to get rough.
Worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Before they
yeah.
could get better.
Exactly. Because that's what makes people kind of like, that's what has people like looking around, like, you know what I'm saying, and being like, hold on, what, like,
Right.
what's going on here?
Have I been eating pig meat for the like that sort of thing? But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. No, keep going, please.
No, but like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, you know what I'm saying? With things happening for a reason, like, do you think with your spirituality, has it transformed like your outlook on this world now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because beforehand, I think I would be a bit more closeted about my spirituality. One, because I was afraid of being judged and ridiculed and seen as a demon, like the Salem witch trials sort of deal.
Yeah.
Right. And so we know how quickly one can turn against one another simply due to an error of rationality and judgment. But
Yeah.
but secondly, like I do feel like we're also growing as like some sort of like consciousness of Mother Earth. And so like the reason why I say that is because I think we are being reminded of the value of our humanity as sort of like technology rises with us.
Mm.
But I'm also thinking about how this new wave of spirituality, right? Like people call it New Age spirituality, um, is sort of like creating an antithesis to how the world used to function, and that's intimidating to a lot of people because like they don't want to lose their grips of power. They don't want to lose that. Uh, Nevertheless, the world must change. The world must adapt. The world must evolve. The world must advance. And honestly,
Yeah.
with this sort of like new outlook coming coming out, I do think there might be some sort of like new iteration of Christianity coming about as well, almost like a New Testament to the New Testament. So
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
um, as far as what that might be, I'm not exactly sure yet, but I think what we're doing right now, trying to define that, is exactly what's helping us as a collective really come into more understanding with what it means to be connected. So
Okay, cool. And like, how did you define spirituality now? Like when we're saying spirituality and we're speaking about it, what does that mean to you? And if you were explaining it to like just anybody who didn't understand and be like, what do you mean when you say that you're spiritual?
right,
What does that sound like to you?
because whenever I say the word spiritual, um, I know the first thought that might come to someone's mind is practicing dark magic and witchcraft and occultism and such and so forth. But when I think of spirituality, I think of being connected with God and oneness with the universe. I think of being connected with myself, and having that union with myself actually allows me to have union with others. And that sort of essence of the soul is exactly what permeates throughout spirituality. Now, that doesn't mean that, we have to practice, sort of like black magic and shit on people like that. But what I do think is that with spirituality, like, there comes a realization that, the 5D and the 3D start to mend together. The energy that plays a factor in our lives, we put that sort of energy out ourselves, but we're also channeling, from something else at the same time. And understanding how it interplays back and forth is exactly what spirituality is starting to develop and evolve more and more into. But what's more interesting is how, now that we can experiment more with, our souls here, instead of just by contributing more to some sort of mega conglomerate company, we can actually help each other along our journeys by guiding one another, by helping provide, healing energy, from being abused and, exploited from said sort of companies. So really, I think spirituality is just about the essence of loving one another, having this sense of humanity and humanitarianism, um, coming about to spread happiness and love, rather than, hurting one another, even though there are other sides of that realm that do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's an understanding that there's like good and bad to all things and anything.
Right.
One thing that for me, like when I think about spirituality, well, I guess in general, like I think like when I think of spiritual people, I see like open-minded people.
Yeah.
Some. No,
Yeah.
I don't know too much about the dark side of spirituality because I don't like to, you know what I'm saying? There's no
Right.
reason for me to really go over there.
Exactly.
Right? So I don't really know too much about the dark sides of spirituality, but like when I think about, the people that I've encountered that are spiritual, like there's a certain level of like open-mindedness that comes with it to understand like, okay, there is good, there is bad. Like,
Right.
yeah, there are spiritual people that do bad things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. But there are also like spiritual people that do good things. The same way
Right.
how like in the church, like there are religious people that are really great, really amazing people.
Right.
And there are other people who are not so great, but use the cloak of religion and Christian, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
To
Yeah.
to hide it. So it doesn't, like, I guess for me, like in a bigger picture of things, like it just opens my mind to the thought like there's gonna be good and there's bad everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So like let me find the good, identify the bad, and then move from there.
Exactly.
And then like that, like, because even like with my own relationship with God, my relationship with spirituality, stuff like that, where it's just like, okay, like I know like the things that y'all taught me about church is just like, well, that's like in life in general. Like I can take it out because, you know what I'm saying, there are even
Yeah.
things like when you're a kid and you get taught certain type of mindsets, and it's just like, now you taught me that because it was some inner work that you didn't do,
Right.
and now I gotta do
Right.
it.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
so,
Exactly. You're just like, dang, that's messed up. Like, now I gotta unprogram myself and program you. You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's like,
So
dang.
yeah, so it's just like you when you think about it, it's just like, all right, cool. So I might as well just be a blank slate and just figure this out. Like, so it's just like when it comes to a relationship with God, let me be a blank slate and just go to God myself.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And there's even a quote in the Bible that says, "My body is my temple," or something like that. And so, like, it really brings us back to the fact that we do not have to go to church in order to find our relationship with God. It's just through the word of the Bible, or even still, it's just about understanding that spiritual connection that we have with something that is beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, like, not to just like shit on every single church out there, because again, like, there's always going to be good with the bad. Like, there are good churches out there that actually help people get connected with God, and like they're really involved with the service and helping their community that way. Okay, but
Yeah.
but in addition, it comes down to what's personal. And so, like, everyone has their own personal relationship to God, and I feel like that's what's happening now. Like, that sort of union with the higher realm, with God again, like, because we have to say a God, like, I think that's exactly what's helping us find union with one another here, and realizing
Yeah.
that, we aren't in control of everything. And that's what's exactly causing this sort of new paradigm shift here.
Yeah, yeah, because like similar to you with my story too. It was a point like I was going through a whole bunch of stuff. Like I was going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And like what ended up happening was one, like I was very depressed.
Mm.
Like super, like super. And
Yeah.
two things happened. One, I've always had like, because I've grew up in church, I know of God. So it was never God that I had an issue with
Right.
in church. So like when I would be going through things, I would always be talking to God, like, God, come on, bro. Like, why am I even here? Like, why am I even here? And like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this to me? Especially on my dark days. Like I've had
Mm-hmm.
plenty dark nights of the soul. So like on those days, I'd be like, God, come on. Like,
Right. Right.
what's up? Give me, like, help me figure this out.
Please.
And, and then okay, what ended up happening was like I had one of those moments, but like I've also came across a tarot video, and I think it might have been Lumen Moon Tarot that I came across.
I've heard of her.
Yeah, like she does a lot of cancer tarot. So I watched her and I'm just like, oh, okay, like this is interesting, because I had no idea what tarot even was. Like
Right.
if you asked me before then, the only thing, have you ever seen that movie Carmen with Beyonce?
I don't think so. Yeah, I haven't seen
Okay,
it.
it's I'll just skip right past that. But like there's
Okay.
just like one little scene, because it's not even a big deal. It's just like in the beginning, like credits of the movie, where she goes to like some tarot reader and the death card comes out and it's just like, oh
Mm.
my God, you're gonna die. Like
Oh God, no.
like
Like the
that's
tarot, yeah, like
yeah.
definitely deserves better representation than that.
That's literally like the only representation, right? I think I
Right.
what's the in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, was the gypsy a reader too? I don't know.
I don't remember really watching that movie. Like I think I fell
Either
asleep.
way, tarot reader always equals evil in media,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
literally.
like
Demon.
exactly. So it's just like, so that was my thing. So then when I saw it and like I heard some of the stuff that they're talking about, because then I ended up going down the tarot rabbit hole on YouTube, and that's a
Yeah.
whole nother thing. But like
Right.
what I was getting from a lot of, not all of them, but what I was getting from
Uh-huh.
a lot of the readers is just like very like positive, like a lot of positive energy, uplifting energy, and like wisdom. Just like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just
Right.
a lot of like inner knowledge, where it's just like you'll be
Right.
listening and it's just like if you're getting like a love reading, it's just like focus on yourself, focus on self-love, heal, da
Right.
da da da. Like things like that, where it's just like, honestly, if you take the cards out of this equation and you were just giving me advice, it's actually pretty good, decent advice.
Literally. Yeah.
Like,
And
uh-huh.
it's just like, the church, because like they like in the Catholic church specifically, like you confess your sins, and then your 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 secrets are weaponized against you if you try to leave, right? Because like you start to feel like you're sort of just indoctrinated into that sort of realm. But at the same time, like, I mean, you brought us some really good stuff, because like tarot cards are like the best free mental health service. Like you can literally go to YouTube and like
Yeah.
get all the advice you need about anything, and like work and process that with someone that truly understands you without even being there.
Right.
And so, like religion being used as that sort of like coping mechanism has been something that's been carried throughout humanity, right, for like the longest time. Though at the same time, like I do feel like it is something bigger. Like, yes, like we put our donations into the service, but um, honestly, I feel like a lot of people that are of like high religious authority, right? Like, I don't know, maybe you're a preacher or a pope, or you just attend church a lot, or it could be any religion, right? I feel
Mhm.
like they kind of look at tarot cards as like the flat earther society, so to speak,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I feel like there is a lot of like misunderstanding due to that. And I was actually talking to someone, another TikToker. Her name is Belle, and we were talking about how to actually help change that narrative about it so that it can be more accepting. And it is actually being more accepting or accepted into society, because I just saw like a tarot candle in the middle of a Barnes and Noble, for God's sake. And you know
I bought
that,
my deck from Barnes and Noble.
yeah, like you find them more and more now in Barnes and Noble. Like they'll have cards next to the Bible shelf and stuff. And I'm just like, well, we are making progress or something like
Oh,
that.
that's bold. Next to the
Right.
Bibles? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are y'all trying to ruffle feathers?
Well, thankfully it's not like right next to the Bible, but like there'll be like a, you know, some positive words of affirmation. You
In
know what I mean?
between, like there'll be some like
Right.
mindfulness things in between.
Yeah. Right. They'll sneak it in there just to see what they
Yeah.
do.
Maybe they're trying to like let people know, like, hey, there's some parallels here.
Right.
Because like even when I
Right.
think about religion, it was just like everybody has the same end goal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Even spiritualists, like the good ones, they have the same end goal. Everybody has the same end goal. So like
Yeah.
I don't understand what we're fighting about. Like, you
I
know what
don't
I'm saying?
either. And
Pray to who
honestly,
you want to. We have the same
yeah,
end goal.
exactly. And so the the thing about it, like I've been seeing more and more like the number 144, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that number is so significant is because it's in the Bible in Revelations, and it talks about the 144,000 that are going to be accepted into heaven when, you know, this sort of, I guess, the Antichrist comes, like the world falls apart, Armageddon, that deal. And the idea that one-on-one, as I'm talking right now, new beginnings, the idea that you know, right?
I saw 1, 2, 3, 4 while we were here. I just didn't say nothing. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I did. I see that a lot. Yeah.
High spiritual guidance. But yeah, the idea that there's only so many people that are meant to be accepted into like this next chapter of the world is honestly terrifying. And
yeah.
I'm not sure how absolute, you know, that is. Whereas there are going to be people that are going to be help healing this new iteration and new generation of people versus people that are only allowed through these gates of heaven, right? And
right.
I'm not sure like if sort of like the translation of the Bible is like, because I was reading the King James version, you know, if that translation of the Bible is actually, you know, authentic to, I guess, the Hebrew text, which, you know, it just goes into a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If I'm reading tarot cards and I get fucking smited down to hell, like I guess like I'm not going down alone because there's fucking 8 billion other people that are coming with us. So
yeah.
Like, it's kind of terrifying. On the other hand, to look at it.
Yeah, and I think that's why having your own relationship with God is important, right? Because if you listen to all of these things on the outside, they will tell you like you're gonna burn forever.
Right.
But like,
right.
I just don't think God works that way.
Right.
But this is my opinion. Everybody might not agree with me, but like, I just don't think God will work this way. And considering like what my life is and like how my life is working, like, you know, God got me taken care of, actually. Like, he's never let me really get hurt. Like, even the things that quote unquote hurt me helped me. So like, you know, like really, I feel favored by God.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really know how you can tell me, you know what I'm saying? One, like God's never going to tell me to hate myself. He's never going to tell, like, none of these things that you tell me to make me feel bad about myself. I've never gotten that from God. Exactly. And that's because I've gotten to know him for myself. Right. So you mean like, it's just like, you can't like, and if everybody finds that relationship, you know what I'm saying? Because like, knowing like God loves you helps you love yourself, or like loving yourself helps you know that God loves you. Right. Both things, I think.
Yeah. And honestly, like, this is like kind of the cusp of where it comes for spiritual warfare, because of this sort of uprise of spirituality. We do see that a lot of Christians might feel challenged by this because, you know, maybe what they've been teaching or at least preachers, kind of goes against their own word. And
Mm-hmm.
so we might see some of these, the church and state tend to usually be involved with one another,
Yeah.
some sort of like war come about, which I hate to even say, but like it's very possible if we see some sort of like big change that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be losing their positions or jobs as an outcome. And so I think that's the scarier part to look at, sort of like the shadow underneath, because if we aren't equipped ourselves, right, to lead others, and like even as myself, I'm learning more and more on my journey to what I know is what I know from dealing with my own darkness. But as we teach one another here, like it's challenging to rely just on that sole entity of one's absolute loot knowing, unless we have that personal relationship with God, as you spoke. And so looking in like the realm that we're in at this very moment, like our 3D reality, um it makes me wonder, right,
Mm-hmm.
like do you think we will have to fight for change?
And in the future?
Right. Or like, do you think this might be like a peaceful revolution?
Oh no. No. I don't. Like if you want me to be fully honest, no. Like I don't think it's going to be easy. Uh but nothing is ever easy, but like
That's true.
I also don't find it scary, like even knowing like no, it's not going to be easy, because like of course like the darkness will always put up a fight. Like the darkness is always going to put up a fight. It's not going to go easily. And I
Yeah.
think that's like what, when I look out into the state of the world right now, that's what I see. I see it's the darkness putting up a fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like the darkness fought real hard to feel like it had control. But you know what I'm saying? And it seemed like it had control for a while, but all that control really does is really make it easier. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'll put it this way. So I was praying the other day,
Uh-huh.
and like I don't know if it was a spiritual attack or if I was just like in my feelings or whatever, but I was like praying and I was just like, see, here's the thing. Like any like when like cuz my like insecurities and stuff will come up, cuz like I sometimes I feel things that aren't my feelings.
Right.
And like like I don't really talk about like my spiritual gifts and stuff, because like some people don't get it, like, and
Mm-hmm.
like like you get scared of sounding crazy, but like whatever, I'm gonna do it. So it's just like if I feel feelings that aren't mine, and it's stuff that I know that I've already dealt with, I'll literally be in my head like, these aren't my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like if these aren't my feelings, why are we here? Like we're not gonna give this energy. And like when I talk to those like negative feelings, like, oh, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, like why am I even doing like those thoughts? And it's just like, yeah, all you do is make me stronger. So like even if you come
Right.
up, like I'm going to deal with you and I'm going to get stronger.
For sure.
So I say that to be like, even if the darkness feels like it's winning, like even if this world seems like it's chaotic, like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm still gonna come out on top, because we're gonna deal with it and we're gonna come out, because like the darkness is never going to win. Like it's just not. Even when it looks like it's winning, it's
Right.
not going to win. Because like God created everything, including the devil.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point. And honestly, the fact that you bring that up, it reminds me of some of the imagery from um, the tarot cards itself, like the Lover's card, for example. It's
Mm-hmm.
reflective of Genesis.
Ah, yeah. And
Right.
isn't its opposite card the devil card?
Right. Exactly. And then we can look at the Judgment card, right? And or
Right.
even the World card, and it talks about um, I think it's the four angels or something like that. From Revelations, and the amount of allusions from the Bible itself. I don't think it's meant to be some sort of coincidence. Like it was intentionally done, because I think there is some sort of relationship with God when it comes to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about like us having like you know sort of favor with God, having that sort of relationship with God, even though it does remind me a little bit of the fact how even Lucifer himself was favored by God, but then still fell to earth, right? And so
Right.
it does
Wasn't
bring
it
up.
off his own choices though?
And
Not that he chose to fall to earth, but I'm saying like, didn't he make choices that made God have to banish him from heaven?
right, and like I think it was, I don't know. I need to do more research on this story, and
Same,
s-
yeah.
and so like you know once I do like start to understand more and more of that, like maybe I'll understand more of why. But as far as I'm concerned, at the very
All I was
moment,
bringing up
I
was
think
free
we are
will.
being,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I think we are like protected in some sense. Like it's not exactly how we think it might happen. So, and that's the thing too about with the Christian community and how many sects there are. When it comes to like Protestantism and or even Mormonism and like Catholicism, how many ways like we can view our relationship with God, or even Calvinism as well. Like like we're decided if we're going to heaven or hell before we're even born. How it has evolved in so many ways. It does give me faith that our outlook and perspective is exactly what determines sort of our own future.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love that. That's really interesting to think about. Like, honestly, spirituality, religion, all of that. It's a never ending rabbit hole. Like when we go down it, it's so many different things that you can talk about. Like so many
Right.
different outlooks and ways to go with it, and like that's really the thing that I love about it. And like, because it's so mystic, it's like something that you will never understand fully,
Right.
but you know what I'm saying, the more that you know, like it's just I don't know, like it kind of feeds me. And like just how the way certain things pan out and line up, and how like certain things even lead you down other roads. Like um even for instance, like when I was forming my relationship with God to get it stronger, like it wasn't intentional. I didn't just go like, oh, I'm gonna get a stronger relationship with God. It just kind of
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
It just happened because, like I said, like I started going to therapy. I saw tarot, and what else did I do? Oh, I committed myself to like working on the podcast. And like
Yeah.
I didn't even know, like one, I didn't know that I could read tarot. Two, like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even realize that I had spiritual gifts of my own
Yeah.
until I started like seeking purpose and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what it was about. Seeking purpose and fulfillment is what led me to God and all of these other things.
Right. Right.
Because I was just looking for something. Like I wasn't happy, I wasn't fulfilled, and I was just looking for my direction. You know what I'm saying? I was just walking around with no direction, and I needed something, and it kind of came in and saved me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, did you? So for you, because I do you see being able to read as a gift?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think in some ways I was using the gift before tarot cards, and that was with,
Same. Yeah.
right, like analyzing prose in English class. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so now I feel like that has just metamorphosized into being able to read that imagery and within the cards and putting the story together in that sense. So I honestly I do feel like it's a gift. I do feel like there are other psychic gifts out there that perhaps we haven't even tapped into yet. And in addition, as we're on the subject of gifts, like I feel like sometimes like I've had a past life where I was meant to learn certain lessons that I didn't learn. And so now we're in this lifetime. And in addition, like I feel like we've had this conversation before in a past life too. So I'm like wondering, what is it that I need to learn that I didn't learn in my past life? It's 1, 2, 3 on the clock. Keep moving forward. So,
Yeah. Okay.
so it really makes me wonder too, like what is the next step for spiritualists as a whole? Where do we go as a group here? Like how do we coalesce? How do we And maybe I'm not sure like if we're creating our own church by doing this. But
Sometimes I wonder, like, if I can be like very, very, very transparent. Like, again, like my grandfather was a pastor, and like when I look at all of my uncles and stuff, like they give pastor, and like sometimes when I get passionate, like it's giving pastor, and I'm just like,
yeah,
God, like for the longest time, like now I've just kind of like settled into it because I don't know where God's leading me, and I
right.
can't say what I am and what I won't be, because anytime that I think I got what my life is going to be figured out, God
Right.
says, and there's more. So like
Exactly.
I don't really go down that route, but like, like I'll look and I'll be like, God, you ain't trying to make me a pastor, are you? Like, are
Right.
you? But
Right.
like, I don't know. But and like sometimes like it doesn't have to look the way that it's traditionally looked anyway. Like, how many
Right.
people are gifted and like leading and like being spirit? Like, so many people are that, but don't say that they are that.
Right.
But like when I think about what I do, I say all of that to be like, when I think about what it is that's happening now, like, and you see collections of people coming together, and we do have that luxury of technology and being and ease of access to one another, and people who are doing some of the things that in the world, like I think it's a possibility. I think, like, you know what I'm saying, I think there's going to be some type of transformation that happens as like collective minds start to come together. Like, I'm
Yeah.
seeing soul tribes being like magically built right now. like,
Yes.
like
Yes.
and like magical is definitely the word. Like, for
Yes. Yes. Honestly, you're right. You're right. So I guess the answers will kind of come about on their own. I think God is kind of having us come together in ways like this, honestly, just by
yeah,
communicating. Um, Thankfully, we're using the technology properly.
yeah.
Right. And so, like, as we're learning how to kind of spread and make and shed more light on this, I'm really grateful for the fact that now we're able to actually create community. And we've been lacking that. Even though we did have the church, I feel like it's time for the church to evolve into something else. So
Yeah, and I think what I kind of find ironic about it is just like, it feels like, I think there was something that I saw that was just like, our generation, the millennial generation, is actually, I don't know what generation you fall into, but I fall into millennial.
yeah, I fall into Gen X.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Wait, Gen X. Wait, is that a
I
millennial
mean,
or
Gen
no?
Z. Gen Z. My bad.
I
Gen
was gonna
Z.
say, what? I was like, you went backwards. There's no way you're older than me. But like, you know what I'm saying? When you think about like the later generations now are like less into like Christianity. That was something I saw, and you know what I'm saying. And it makes me wonder sometimes how much of our generation, like this one and Gen Z, like our generations, I'll say that. I wonder how much of our perception of religion comes from that authoritarian, like
True.
my way or the highway type of relationship that was established with religion. I wonder how much of that went into that rejection of it,
Hmm.
but like also coming into this newfound way of like finding God. Because like when I hear spirituality, like I hear people having to find God for themselves.
Right.
That's what
Right.
I hear. Like, you know what I'm
Me
saying?
too.
It's just like I hear people, oh, I have to go find God for myself. And that could be
Right.
through so many different ways and means or whatever. So,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know what I'm
And,
saying? So,
right.
go
And,
ahead.
and, like God will definitely test our fucking our will to live, because he'll like, I'll let you go
Yeah.
down that route if you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You
and
think you're
then
missing something? Okay.
right, yeah, like you forgot me. I'm a part of your plan. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, you can't even open this door until you come talk to me. So,
literally. He's like, good luck.
yeah. Yeah, like you'll be literally like Wile Coyote and Roadrunner. Like, you're just gonna be going
Yeah.
in circles like
Oh my
forever.
gosh. Yes, that's exactly how it feels.
Yeah. So like, have you ever like, cause like, do you consider like what you're doing now, like, are you seeking purpose now? Do you think you
Um,
fully found it?
well, I'll never say that I have, but I will say I
It's hard
am
to
more
say. Yeah.
fulfilled like than I've ever been before. I
Yeah.
think I am aligned with my purpose. And I know that, our purpose can change like the wind because,
That's true.
right, like our reality can change at such a whim too. But, you know, regardless, I do feel like I'm helping people, and that's always been a part of my purpose. Um, Fun fact, my name, Nicholas, short for Nike, which is Greek, stands for victory of the people. And honestly, I feel like I'm meant to help lead in some sort of way by, making sure that we do have power and democracy. And so,
Hmm.
um, being able to help people along their spiritual journey, I do feel like it's a gift because I'm able to actually help enlighten others about what sort of powers they have in order to influence their own reality and help them understand sort of the nuances that come with it too. So, and thus you mentioned something about this earlier, like being unable to sort of discern between our own energy and else's. Um, I do feel like I am a light worker and a healer, and so being able to, I guess, make an impact on someone else's life, I can sometimes take on their energy, and I confused it for such a long time as mine that I
Yeah.
would lose myself in that. But then I realized, that wait, no, I'm this person, and that those thoughts were theirs. And I'm realizing that more because I'm having conversations with people like you, and I'm realizing that because I'm finding my soul tribe, like we talked about earlier. And so, as we all help each other kind of find one another again, um, as we provide the key to one another, okay, like unfolding this story, I do think that we're following the right path because I don't feel a sense of burden on me. I do feel like I'm being led by God to speak. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Cause that kind of leads to my next question too. Like when you think about fulfillment and like I struggled for a long time with like the feeling of lack
yeah,
and like understanding like and actually like it'll be something that I prayed for because it'll be like God, like I have everything that I need, but I'm still searching for more.
mm,
And like really understanding that we are abundant, like regardless
yes,
of
yes.
the circumstances around us, like really having what we need. So like what do you feel like um your relationship with like abundance is? Like if you could explain like what your idea of being abundant is and being fulfilled, what does that look like and what do you think it could look like for people?
Well, I will say in the past, like especially before I even started my spiritual journey, that I didn't realize how unappreciative I was of things and like how much I took for granted, especially of those of my loved ones that were around me. The amount of things they did that they showed me love, and I still didn't feel loved. But I also didn't feel like I knew myself enough to understand when I was getting love, and also how to set those certain proper boundaries to where I felt like I was getting the love that I needed in the first place. And so that was
Right.
a whole lot to unpack. But as I started to, become more aligned with myself, as I started to become more aligned with God, I started to see like the beauty of life around me again because I started to understand that I was deserving of love. And that itself was the first sign of abundance, understanding that my soul was an indicator of being around loved ones and of a reality that can bring me and furnish my soul. And so, as I started to take appreciation for the little things that I got, as I started to see these small miracles pop in and up out of my life, like, getting the opportunity, to go to New York last year was like one of the biggest ones. Like, having financial blessings come at just the right time so that I can pay rent and such and so forth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like having gratitude for all of that. I started to pick up more and more on, this is not just, work that I put in, but this is also work that my angels, my spirit team is helping me with along the way. And so
Mm-hmm.
showing that gratitude, praying and thanking, my God, God, angels and my spirit guides have actually seen has helped me see more and more some of the good things that are out there, and that I have the resources to make my reality more abundant as well. And so instead of being so, what's the word, recluse about it, now I'm learning how to like properly spread this joy and warmth that that I've been given, and that's been helping me feel like I'm overflowing with fulfillment, with
Yeah.
with 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 just joy. So at the time, when I didn't, I was in a like poverty mindset essentially to becoming a more of an abundant mindset, having appreciation for just my own breath has carried on into such a way that now I feel like I'm actually living in my purpose in life, being able to help others. And that's just by seeing the world for what it is, and what sort of opportunity there is for change, and not just change, but also, the way that we can make a difference in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like one like that I had to learn too, what to piggyback off of that, it's just it's not like when I would be looking for when it's lack, it's just I'm looking for something material
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
And like, part of this journey is showing me that material things aren't as important. Like
Right.
you said, it was just like loving myself to understand what other people loving me look like. One, like I had to learn how to love myself, just period. I had
Right.
to learn how to love myself. What does loving me look like? And like you can't know what someone else loving you should look like unless you know how to love yourself and give that to
Right.
yourself. And then that's how you know who loves you and who doesn't. And that's what helps your discernment too. At least that's what I feel like it helped my discernment, like to be like, okay, like that's not, I wouldn't do that to me. I also wouldn't do that to you, but you have no problem
Right.
doing this to me. So like that's not love. Like,
Exactly.
that's not love. I don't want to be treated this way. So it kind of like makes things easier. But then understanding like, okay, like my rent does get paid every month.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Even when I don't understand how it's going to get paid, like
Right.
it's going to get paid. And like those will be like the things, right, that'll send us into like a depression. Cause like we're human, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that'll like stress you out. Be like, I don't know where this is gonna come from. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how I'm gonna fix this situation. I don't know how I'm doing XYZ, but it's something about knowing like, you know what, even when this doesn't make sense, I know things are always working out in my favor and that I will always be provided for. So the
Right.
time that I would have spent stressing about this, I'm just not, and I'm gonna
Right.
find peace in knowing that it will be taken care of. Even if I have to take
Right.
care of it, I will take care of it. And the way to take care of it, I will get that and I will figure that out. But like me going down this rabbit hole of being like sad and like I want to say low vibrational. I don't know if everybody
Yeah.
understands what low vibrational means, but like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like
Right.
just getting into that energy and being like you're stuck when in reality it's just like, nah, it's all good. Like we're fine.
Right. And part of the reason for that low vibrational energy can come from the root chakra, right? Like it can be underactive or overactive, but I feel like for a lot of people, especially for the Black community, because we got to talk about that. But like for
Yeah.
having coming from that sense of home that doesn't really feel like they value you, right? Like being sort of
Mm-hmm.
ostracized and picked on for being different, and speaking a certain way and such and so forth. Some people have to deal with parents that are unfortunately narcissistic, and
Yeah.
honestly, they get rose or they're raised in a way that they're taught to treat others like they're shit. So,
Yeah.
but I think at least now, like, because more and more people are having their spiritual awakening, that they're learning how to tap into those sort of wounded chakra areas and help like process and heal that trauma that was passed on down onto them. And as we're all like walking this spiritual journey together, I feel like more and more people are having that sort of kundalini awakening,
Mm-hmm.
because they're learning how to balance it, and they're learning to accept the moment, right, and find their abundance by within, and that's part of like understanding what that lead into gold sort of thing we were talking about earlier is about, right? Finding the sort of beauty of life by understanding our spirit and relationship to God, and understanding that all of it comes together, right, and everything
Mm-hmm.
is one. So having that sort of self-actualization that we are, more than just the bodies that hold us into this corporeal world, but really like understanding that our sense of happiness is beyond just pleasure itself. I
Yeah.
think it really is a sense of balance that comes from every aspect of our lives, and understanding when our body is telling us this and that is so important into making
Yeah.
sure that that abundance is always there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, something that I've learned is just how important. Well, I've learned a couple things. Listening to my body is so key. I'm so glad that you brought it up because it's something I don't really think about a lot. But learning how to listen to my body, before my spiritual awakening, I wasn't paying attention to my body like that.
Yeah.
It just was what it was. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like now, like understanding, like, oh, okay, I'm dehydrated. Oh, this
Right.
food doesn't sit right with me.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? When I'm around certain people, like I don't feel at peace.
Yeah.
I actually feel
Yeah.
anxiety or
Exactly.
super defensive. Like
Mm-hmm.
understanding when I go to this job, like I feel anxiety when I come in here.
Right.
Like,
Right. And
but when I
recognizing what
leave,
even
I feel
anxiety
fine.
is.
Exactly. Like being at peace to understand, being at peace with yourself to understand when something's wrong
Right. For sure. And honestly,
or when
like,
something's right.
yeah, that too, because we can have the tendency to sabotage things whenever they start to get good. And
Yeah.
honestly, we have to recognize our own sort of self-destructive behaviors when it comes to stuff like that. Because sometimes whenever we we receive a blessing from God, he'd be like, please don't fuck this up. And then you fuck it up.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, I gotta teach you another lesson now.
I gotta do this again. Yeah.
Right. And so like I mean really at the end of the day, like I'm glad we're brought the opportunity to see what is good and bad, because now we are able to recognize within ourselves, our intuition will fire up. And
Yeah.
we're either here to trust it or not. And when we start to over rationalize some of those things, we honestly lose the point altogether, because then it's just about the fact that we should have just been relying on our faith. So
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like even things like understanding like things come and go, like not getting attached, just letting things be what they are. Like there's so much peace in that. Like
yeah.
a lot like when I would be like going through my depressive states, it would be because I was thinking too much about things that were completely out of my
Right.
control.
Right.
And it wasn't until I learned how to just kind of like let things be, like, okay, if it's time for you to leave this like, you know what I'm saying, if it's time for you to
Yeah.
leave this home, if it's time for you to leave this job, if it's
Right.
time for you to like whatever, if it's time for you to leave
Yep.
this relationship, like
Yep.
any of those things, like things come and go. And like
Right.
we get caught up on what things were or what they should have been or how it was supposed to look or how it was supposed to be. But in
Exactly.
reality, things are going exactly the way that they're supposed to for you and your story right now as it is.
Yeah, and it's really easy to get swept up from or by another person's opinion of what's happening in your world, because to them it might look like something else than what you're actually going through. And so on top of that, you're getting persecuted and judged by other people that don't know half of your story. And
Yeah.
you're fighting this battle internally and externally, because now you have to defend your judgment. And so as you come into a better sense of alignment with God, now it's like you have to fight off people that tell you that you don't know what God is. So
Yeah. Yeah. And like I'm glad that you brought that up too, because like there's a power in knowing yourself for
yes.
sure. Like I'm learning that too, because like I wasn't like like I was strong minded, but like I was I would go with the flow a lot.
Right.
And it would, like, if people were to tell me like, oh, you're this, like, oh, you can't do that because whatever, like I might actually like take that into consideration.
Right.
And like I was proud of myself the other day because like I was going through, so I've learned about myself, like I've incorporated all of these things, right? Like you got the life path, you got the relationship with God, he telling me what my purpose is, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I got my North Node, all of those things. Like it's just like you got all of
Right.
these things, you got all of these things to tell you like who you are, what you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be going, and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So
Astrology is crazy. What is your
yeah,
North Node, by the way?
I'm a Sag North Node.
Really? You're meant to be
Yeah.
adventuring and stuff like that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's why I'm
You
like,
certainly have
look,
a gift for communication.
I'm not meant to be like I'm not meant to be in one place doing one thing. Like it
For
makes sense.
sure.
Like like
Yeah.
I was not born to sit still and just be quiet.
Right.
But like,
Exactly.
like the way that I grew up, like I thought that I was here to sit still and be
Right.
quiet. And
Exactly.
it
Don't
never
talk back,
fit.
sort of deal. Right.
Exactly. And it didn't fit. Like, right.
Yeah.
So I was always in inner conflict with myself because what I was told that I was supposed to be was actually not reflective of who I am at
Right.
all.
Right.
Right. And
Exactly.
I was actually sitting in my bed last night and I was thinking about all of the work that I was doing. Like I was reflecting and I thought about it. It's just like, like, cause like I'm starting to like get to a point where it's just like past lives are like starting to
Mm-hmm.
like click in and like,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's just like, oh, this is what you do. Like, what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
This is what you do. This is what your family was supposed to do. Like, this
Right.
is like, this is why you are here. And
Right.
like to think like, okay, this is who I am. And like even when I go through like my dark points, because like my energy is heavy, my energy is strong. Like I'm understanding my energy is strong. And that's why I would make myself small when I was a kid, because it was
Right.
just like it's a lot, and like
Mm-hmm.
people want, like, especially when you're a kid, it's easy for people to make you feel small.
Yeah.
So like when you're a light, so like me, I never understood why I was light. So like my light is bright, but like my dark is dark.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
the dark like is what gives me like a lot of these understandings, and it's also what helps me connect with other people to be able to like speak to their higher self.
Right.
Like, what I'm saying? Like I be going through
Right.
my lower self to speak to other people's lower self and higher self, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, like really helping people transmute that energy, right? And then
Exactly.
also, yeah, showing them the road from how you got from darkness to light.
Exactly. So like I have to transmute. So like it'll get ugly, it'll be transmute. So it's like people that deal with me on a regular basis have to understand like 99% of the time I'm good. I am a light and nothing bothers me. But that
Right.
1% of the time, I need that. Like
Yeah.
I need that because that's that moment that one like drives me forward into new territory because I'm human. I get scared. I don't like to deal with stuff sometimes. Like
Right.
that element will never go away. But
Yeah.
like like I have to deal with my dark to one help other people deal with their dark, but also to push myself forward.
Right.
And it's not going to look like that. And like in the past, I would let it, like people would be like, "You're too much," and it's
Yeah.
just like I'm not too much. I'm not
Yeah.
too much. This is a part of my process, and I understand that about myself. And like now I get to learn who can handle me, but I also know how to handle me. If that makes sense.
For sure, because I've definitely had a similar upbringing. Definitely, my voice was quieted as a kid. My talents weren't really recognized. I love to make drawings of like Disney characters and anime characters, but my friends told me that, oh, you didn't do that. That wasn't real. And then not only that, but like
Yeah.
I felt like whenever I would express myself, sort of like my philosophical side would come out, and it would easily get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And that I dealt with that even up until college, and only recently am I starting to start to be appreciative for it. But
Yeah.
I understand that very well. Just like not just that, but also like the antithesis when it comes to dealing with Christianity too. How one can fall into the trap of black and white thinking and like good is good and bad is bad and ignore some of the bad parts about themselves, which is a like hypocrisy
Yeah.
essentially. And how dare you shame someone whenever you yourself have also been through the fucking darkness, and it's just unfair and unjust. So honestly, like part of my mission, my north node is actually in Leo. And
Okay.
right, yeah, so I'm meant to step into this spotlight, I feel.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been a challenge doing that because I've been having to heal some of those wounds from the past about being seen and being known, and being misunderstood, because I'm used to being seen in that sort of shadow, but now I'm being seen in more of a light nowadays, at least, which thank God.
Yeah.
But it was a journey, but now I feel like I'm actually on my path.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. It fits, right? Because like when I look at you, it makes sense. And when I listen to you, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like your name is perfect. Wisdom is a perfect name,
Thank you.
honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. And like I can see it. Like, so do you have, and I think this will be like one of the last things we talk about before we wrap up.
Okay.
So like people who deal with those quieted voices, like where you have that inner knowing, like I think, because I don't know, you might have said this or not, do you feel like you knew that you were supposed to be seen? Like did you feel like you knew your
Yes.
purpose was bigger, even though like the outside world will tell you like no? And like,
Yes.
what suggestions do you have for like other people who feel like, I feel like things are supposed to be better, I feel like I'm supposed to be in a different place, but like I don't see that for
Right.
me right now?
For sure. So my word of advice, starting off, I knew I wanted to be a YouTuber whenever I was a kid, right? And I knew I wanted to become famous by doing that. And it was more of a naive idea. It felt like at first, like I was like, how am I going to do that? You know, there's a bunch of YouTubers out there, blah blah blah. I have every excuse in the world not to put myself out in the face of the world.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, what I started to do was stop comparing myself to others and their journeys and learn how to heal myself on my own journey, right? By actually doing the things I should have been doing, by talking to people that are emotionally available enough to have the conversations that I'm willing to have, by connecting to people that are a little bit outside of my own comfort zone, but also very informative and insightful about where I want to go on my path. So consulting with people that are actually in the field that I was interested in, and I started to put myself in more uncomfortable situations by challenging my own fear. And so one of the ways I
Ooh.
did that one of the ways I did that was by becoming a leader for one of the organizations on my school campus, which is called the Intercultural Network. And we help make events for people by creating whatever they need, whether that's regarding like mental health, such as. But I never thought I was capable of something like that. I never thought I was capable of helping students kind of find their way, and that's only because of what I've been through now, to say that it's possible to change. It's possible to let go of the darkness, right? It's possible to find the light at the end of the tunnel because it's there. It's as long as we keep moving forward, and so now for everyone else's path out there, it's going to be a little bit different. Like having that sort of faith, having that reliance on your angels and the world around you, your loved ones. We have to remember who is really out there for us, right? And honestly, it can be a little daunting, trusting, especially because you don't know sometimes who's the right person to listen to. I
Mm-hmm.
digress though, because at the end of the day, if you know where your goal is, that you will get there as long as you keep pushing forward, and you will meet the right people at the right time. And you have to have that sort of faith along with you on your journey. So that's my word of advice, just to keep moving forward.
Nice, nice. I agree. I absolutely agree. Like sometimes you have to just cut out all of the outside noise.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It'd be
like you,
so stubborn, right?
yeah, like you gotta turn it all off, and you gotta like stop comparing yourself to other people. I know it's hard because I used to do it a lot. Like I used to
Mm,
look around and I'll be like, especially like right, being wanting to do stuff where you're like influencing, right, and you want to
right.
be on the edge of the internet. Like let's be honest, like everybody wants to like have that one video, like you know what I'm saying, like
Right.
have that story where I put out a video and then all of a sudden like now I'm a millionaire with like 1 million views and it's just
Yeah.
easy and
Right.
like you know what I'm saying? Like everybody wants that story, but like you have to really get to the root of like what you're doing, why are you
Right.
doing it,
Exactly.
not comparing yourself to other people. Like, do you really believe in what it is that you're doing? Like,
Exactly.
regardless, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, if nobody ever listened to one episode of the podcast, am I still proud of what it is that I do?
Right, exactly. Are you still committed to your own journey? Are you still committed
Exactly.
to your own path? And like dealing with that sense of imposter syndrome, right? Like that we're not good enough, that we're unworthy for, the higher position that we research and aim for is something else that's another challenging thing to overcome. But at least if we learn to look at things from a perspective of time, right? Like we allow things to grow rather than, burning ourselves out in like 1 or 2 days and we don't see results. It's like the same approach when it comes to going to the gym, like you don't expect to become a bodybuilder that's like completely shaped and bulked in less than a month. Like there's levels to it. And so, or even like a video game, like you don't get to the end of the game in 1 day unless you played that game before, right?
Yeah.
It's
Unless
just
it's like 1999 and like games just last for 2 hours. Like,
yeah, and even still, like the original Mario Bros, I cannot get past the first level.
Yo, Sonic, that one level with the water gets me every time. Chemical Plant, think it's the second level.
Oh my gosh, Chemical Plant Zone is annoying. Like I can't
The
do it
second
unless I have
level,
saves.
yo, no, my brother has to do it for me. It's been that way my whole life, and still to this day, my brother has to get me through the second level of the Chemical Plant, and also
Right.
that one with all of the plants. Any level of Sonic where you got to go underwater, you might as well just take the controller from me.
I know. Yes, yeah. Man, that makes me upset because Sonic nowadays, oh man, it's not the same. It's just not
It's
the
not
same.
this. I don't bother. I don't bother with new Sonic like at all.
Yeah, me either. But like,
Bruh, my brother would just be like doing the game, and I'll be like, you know how like if you die in Sonic, like Tails
right?
comes along, you're playing 2 player, Tails
Oh
just comes back.
yeah.
That's me. That would be me.
Hey, honestly, like without Tails at the time, I get I get stuck in so many situations. Like Tails just lifting me out of the water, like when the countdown is coming down.
Yeah, yeah. I hear the music in my head right now.
Literally, me too. The music goes back to normal, like nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Like,
Right?
I'm about to die.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly how it feels, right? Like we're like stuck underneath water trying to find like that gasp of air with all
Yeah.
that fucking pressure until like, I don't know. Sometimes we make it, and sometimes it feels like we never do. But, like if we're still here, like even that brings me into like thinking about like life and death a little bit here because like we only get one life and we have to cherish it. And so like if you rather spend your life doing something you're unhappy doing, then you can just know that you may or may not ever feel that sense of fulfillment at the end of
Yeah.
the day by going down that path. What matters most is that you are at least trying to do what you want, because if you did, you'll never have to live with the regret of saying, oh well, I mean, at least I tried, like, or I mean, I never gave it a shot. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'd honestly rather say that I tried than like, what if I would have?
yeah, exactly. So might as well
Because
put it all on the line.
you might as well, right? Because like what I'm understanding, one is like falling in love with the process, like
Yeah,
just falling in love with the journey. Like every day is not going to be good, but being able to just find things that are good, that are worth being happy about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if
right,
I'm not where I want to be, it's better than what I was. I was walking
right.
down, and I was walking down the street with my dog the other day, and I do this all of the time. Like, I remember I broke my ankle like 2 years ago,
Mm,
and I couldn't leave. So like once I was able to like start walking around again, that's what kind of started my spiritual awakening, breaking my ankle. That's what did it. So as I would be like walking, and I would just be grateful that I could walk, period.
right.
Like I'm just happy that I could be outside walking. Like
Yeah.
just period, like able to feel anything, like even if
Huge
it's like
blessing.
3 degrees outside and I'm like cold as hell, I'm
Right.
still walking, I'm still moving my body, like I've healed, like I've gotten myself through that. And
Yeah.
like when I was walking down the street doing the same exact thing, I was in the same place, and I asked myself like, where were you 2 days ago?
Yeah.
I mean 2 years ago. And I was just like, oh, this is literally when I broke it.
Damn.
And I've come so far since then.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like
Yeah.
everything. And that's something to be happy about. So like even if I
Right.
want to feel any type of way negative about where I am in
It's
life
still better
now,
than what it was before.
period. Like you can't get like you can't You can't get any worse than that. Like, I'm
Exactly,
good.
exactly, and that's the most rewarding part, being able to look at how much time and effort you put into it, and then kind of start to see that, hey, actually, I have grown, because as you're working on it, toiling away day by day, it may not feel like it, at first or even for a while, but you'll slowly start to see that shift from within and outside of you, because your inner world is a reflection of your outer reality, right? So
Yeah.
additionally, like, you start to feel like life is more positive as a whole. And yeah, like, I've looked back, and we talked about this before too, on some of my thoughts, literally, like in the beginning or end of 2019, and how depressed I was, how sad I was, how lonely I was, because I felt like I was unable to express some of the deeper hidden parts of my psyche, until now, where I've actually invested myself into my goals, and like truly seen the growth of community, especially on TikTok. Strangely enough, I wouldn't have thought it would be there. um, I actually feel like I'm stepping into the role that I'm meant to be in, and
Yeah.
that was 3 or 4 years ago. So, and I feel like I have no reason to be upset, because uh, I'm just blessed for everything that's happened. So,
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's working out for you that way. And I'm
yeah,
really glad that you decided to come on and join me for this conversation today. It was
yeah.
really enlightening and I'm really happy. Like, I feel invigorated. Like,
Me too. Me too.
yeah. You are welcome to come back anytime and talk. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So, anytime. Do you want to let people know where to follow you on social media?
Yes. So again, my name is Wisdom, spelled with WDSOIM. And I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on YouTube. So you'll find me the same way, either way, with the same name.
Yes. So go follow him and like, yeah, I'll be real, y'all. I done got a reading. I got two of them. He was right both times. So
I appreciate it.
just just saying, y'all, just saying, wisdom is wisdom. um, if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at marissa17 on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter when I feel like it, but I never feel like it, and Marissa the Thinker on Facebook. And if you're looking for Thinker with Speaker, you can find us at Thinker versus Speaker on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Thinker versus Speaker, and Thinker versus Speaker official on TikTok. And also, Marissa the Thinker has a YouTube channel. It's still new, so I be forgetting. But yeah, I'm on YouTube too. So make sure you follow me for any extra content that you're looking for. Sometimes I post podcast clips. Sometimes I post clips of me talking, just, all of those things. If you like this episode, or, you know, you want to come on the show, you want to do any of that, let me know. Make sure you like, comment, share, do all of the things. Ring the notification bell button if you want to get notified when I drop new episodes. We come out every Friday at 11, but I'm always doing random stuff, so make sure you got that going. And yeah, I can't remember if it's anything else that I need to include. Did you have anything else before we get out of here?
I mean, I'm just grateful that you had me on the show. I feel like, we both learned a lot from each other today. So,
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you came through and I appreciate it. So thank you for sure. Much love and
absolutely.
growth in the future. And
Absolutely.
yeah. All right. So on that note, we're going to get out of here, y'all.
Thanks,
See
y'all,
y'all
for
next week. All
listening.
right. Bye.
Bye.
Smooth, mate.